In progress.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers program from Keshe Foundation Space Institute. As usual, we welcome you back, and we hope we can add to the knowledge. The knowledge today is extensive. What we're going to teach today, I hope can be understood by most of you, and the purpose that we are using the teaching today and allocate such a what I call extensive time for the teaching of today. I started this part of the teaching about last week, and in a way, I structured it. Just 1 second, please. Fine, that's this one. Just 1 second, please. Okay. They have go back the other way. Okay, so what we have, and we're going to consider in today's teaching, is a very cornerstone of it. What does this mean? This means that we're going to understand the principle of creation, how field became part of, and then how that part of became matter state, energy state. What this means is that in so many ways, we reconsider position of fields. We consider the position of the energies. We consider, as we discussed, to answer question as we initiated this part of the teaching. The scientific work today, life is as it is, as we know it. We breathe, we eat, we have organs, we live in an environment that is, in a way, we don't care about because it's there. We are born in it. It was with us when we came, and it stayed with us and is part of our life. We've been to a space, we don't see much changes. We stayed inside the atmosphere of this solar system, and we still see no difference. We send satellites up and they stay the same. We use communication units. We still communicate under the water in the depth of the space. But all this has a connection. All this has a principle. All this has a reason, a dimension, what we call a position, and energy transfer. Rick, if you can give me a whiteboard that I can explain in detail. If you listen to the last week's teaching, I explained that the rays of the sun, they, in their interaction, create conditions that is up to now unknown to us. We just consider it as a cosmic ray. As we said in the other part of the teachings, we have a creator's ray and we have a cosmic ray, where the cosmic ray comes from the creator, from interaction of its fields with its own environment, with its own effects, with its own capability and possibilities. If you remember last week, I explained to you, if this is, I have to use a bigger line, if this is the ray of the creator, you have points of interaction, what we see in what we call in the process, where these points of interaction, for example, I try to put in as a different color that you can see as a pink. These interactions come, generates through, and in a way, this is the most oddest way to get this thing done. So it's going backwards and so forward. So you see that you have 3 points of interaction of the fields of the creator. But these rays at the point of interaction create a specific condition. And that is very much depending on the strength of the field at the point of interaction, leads to creation of a stronger field. It's 2 lights coming together, even though it's the same light, because it's not reflected, it's a field of itself interacting with itself. So these pink spots become stars. They become point of interaction of the fields of the creator, center of galaxies, center of universes. In so many ways, when egg and sperm come together, create the same thing. They create a light, they create a stronger field that reflects actually the creator, because these are the fields of the origin. Even though we ate the food, the energy of the food became part of the egg and the sperm, still follows that line, because it's embedded in it, it's part of the connection, it's what keeps everything together. But as I explained last week, we have what we call the fields of vibration. These fields vibrate as they're going from one place to another. They have, and they interact, and they vibrate. And the fields of vibration creates a different condition. And when these fields of vibration of one side interacts with the other one, again, you get the creation of new dimension, which means you get the creation of matter. With the interaction of the origin, you get the sun. With the interaction of the field of the vibration, you get the matter state. But this field, these waves, have one secret with them. Because of the rotation dimension of the plasma rotating as the original, which came from the creator, they create compression. Where the 2 origin come together, there is no compression. It's a amalgamation, is interaction or friction with each other, which leaves one to carry on. With the what we call waves, you create a compression, you create pressure. We see this, for example, on the sea, on the oceans. When the ocean is flat, there is no wind. You have flat surface. The water is still there. When you get change of dimension, wind, pressure, you get the ocean to create its wave. It creates a compression which hits the wall, it hits the ship, it hits whatever. Now it's not the water anymore, it's a force. Then it creates its own condition, its own creation. So we see, if we understand this, that the impression and the compression of the environment leads to creation of what we call like satellites, start of what we call planet system. The planetary system, what we are used to, what we see as, what we are considered to be a normality in the world of creation. So when our scientists in the future look at these environments, when our scientists in the future understand the difference between the original and the ones which came from the wave, from the fields of the waves interaction, in conjunction with the compression, which leads to creation of frequency, then man will understand how to conquer the universe. This is very much, if you look at it, your soul sits in the center. And then as it radiates with the interaction of the fields of the wave or compression or the condition of your cell leads to creation of other cells in that environment. This is why you always have the liver with the same cells in the same position. It's not that that cell decides its position. It's the environment of the other cells dictate that cell always stays in that position, because the compression from the other cells plus the wave from them, what we call creation of frequency, leads to creation of the manifestation of that cell in that position. This is, if you understand this part, this is why we managed to remake the cells of the brain of Naomi. We didn't do anything. We just put cancers outside. But with it, we created the condition of the wave. But in that GANs, there were materials which mimics the condition of the environment of the brain. We saw this in Corona. The energy of the virus mimicked calcium. And so we see calcification in the brain, we saw calcification in the lung and the rest of it. But the soul was still giving the same field. So the life in the universe consists of two waves, two fields. One is the field energy of the creator, and one is the field energy of the wave, which is created by its environment according to the motion of the fields of the creator in that space. This field, the original fields, what I call the creator fields, itself originally comes as a singularity which in its position and condition becomes a plasma by interaction with itself. Then it becomes a three-dimensional, in a way, it spreads across a ball than actually a single line. That in that process leads to creation of dynamic spherical shape, in the shape of the universe, shape of the
plasma of an atom, shape of an electron, shape of everything else. And then, for example, we see even on Earth, the top and the bottom is not exactly the same. The planetary system in the matter state have a bit of a flat top. It's not fully circular. We see this in the shape of the Milky Way. We see this where that this divergence of the thing keeps a spherical shape. It has to transfer its energy of the wave, and that's why we see hexagonal shape on the skin of the man, or pentagon shapes on the skin of man, north pole of planets and the south pole of the planets. This field, what we see in the shape, is actually transferring the field waves which the entity itself cannot hold. In a way, in the future, very simply, you can do something very simple, and that is create what I call a hexagonal shape, and with it, create the shape of the object, as it happens with our planetary system in all of the dimension and direction of the universe. This is how our skin takes shape. Our skin is a combination of 3 nanolayers: the inner nanolayer, skin, the middle, and the top. And then the pressure of the fields and the source of the inner layer, which is connected to the source, to the soul of the man, in interaction with the inner field layer, leads to creation of the shape of your skin. If you look at it, it's not flat, it's hexagonal or pentagon. Now, you can create, if you understand this, in the future of time to come, for man to create any shape craft. You do not need to be necessarily this shape. This is why we see, when we look at space and we see UFOs, it's like a cigarette, which is a different type, or you can make any shape object. To understand this, go to the patent. This is explained in detail how you can make walls of a building inside using creation of magnetic fields, where we use the vibration, we use the compression to create that wall using the origin of the fields in its development. This is how we create boundaries. This is how we create the size. This is how we create condition of the motion of an object within an environment. If you understood this, and you can go a step further, when you travel in a space, you have any shape you like. You create the magnetic gravitational fields of the dimension into the position in conformation of your reactors. So you pull yourself into what you have created. Then you can live anywhere in space, because you create the mother field and you allow the compression and the wave of the fields of to create the gravitational field without the matter state. This is a very advanced technology. It might take man centuries to understand it, and it might take man a few years to understand. But this is how you dictate, direct yourself into a position in the empty spaces of the universe, using not only the magnetic fields of what we call the system, but using the fields, the what we call the waves of the fields with their compression. Go back to the teacher. Months ago, we explained, we showed that you have a system which creates a central plasma. And I said to you, in the lab, we only see DC, flat. And we decide the boundary of the system where we observe AC. AC is a characteristic of the matter, is where the compression of the two fields come together. Otherwise, the system stays continuously on DC. In a way, the shape of a planet, a star, is dictated by the DC within it. When you stick a copper coil, copper bar into the earth, you work with this currency, with this current. But if you go back to understand deeper way, now you understand where you come to play. We go back to the original shape. The soul of the creator, what I call the creator's field, is crossing everywhere. What do? Your soul, which is nourished on this planet, after its departure, in its move and interaction according to position, comes in touch with this. And this is where your soul will become the seed of the next cycle of life, the next sun. It's not random. It's dictated. And in so many ways, you can, by emotion, dictate where this soul manifests itself. In a way, at the point of death, the emotion you carry within the soul dictates the position where you create that compression at the point of the birth in the universe. Where your seed will flower, where your seed will cultivate to become the next generation of life. In a way, the soul of the man is like that grain on a stem of a wheat. You take that grain, you take it across another part of the world, you plant it in the ground, and if the fields of the what we call the compression of the earth, magnetic fields, matches, it'll grow. There is no difference between the soul of the man separated from the physicality or by emotion travel than the seed you take from the wheat, stem of the wheat, and you plant it in another place and it grows. That seed is your soul. As we said, in the Chinese trials in Inner Mongolia, the best they can do is 12% what we call protein. We gave it the seed, we gave it the energy, we gave it the compression fields of the what we call the gases, and it came to its perfection, 20%, which fills the sac. And man in life is there to live, to add to that, because then you go from 11 to 12% to 15% to 18% to 20% the perfection. That 20% is the field of the creator. And this is what a man strives in life to achieve, that when that seed, that grain of the stem of the life of this planet is planted in another position in space where it comes in touch, it becomes the central gravitational field to interact with the fields of the creator, creates a perfect life. 20% of protein in the wheat, perfection of the life, man, in the universe. And the whole purpose of teaching now is we are trying to push you to that 20% perfection that is full, is maximum. And if man one day understands the teaching of today, how the field of the Creator, how the emotion of the man in adding to the field of his own essence of soul comes to interaction with and connection with the vibration and with the waves of the compression of the field of the Creator, that position, that place become where the soul of the man will become another. In a way, you reach the point that you call on the fields of the Creator. I am here to be nourished. I'm here to interact, to lead to creation on another sun, another center for life. When our scientists, as now we are developing more and more, understand, we look in a different way in the depth of the universe, we only see on our structure the sun, so many suns in a galaxy. But when we mature enough in scientific world to see the whole spectrum of the field, we'll see within the light of the Creator, which means the galaxy and the universe is nothing but light. According to what strength you decide to look at that light, you are prepared to look at the origin, or you're looking at the fraction of the division of colors made of pink and yellow. What was the origin which led to creation of pink and yellow and blue and red? When we interact according to the strength of our soul, what we manage to bring that perfection from 11-12% protein to 20% protein, how we manage to perfect our soul in the process of life to its best, dictates what we create as children of the man in the space. Because if you're 20%, if you're 15%, they plant a 10%, 20% seed, they'll give you 10%, 20% seed. Unless you change this environment, unless you change the compression of it, unless you change the emotion of it, you will get the same. I made man in the image of myself, because in the interaction of your soul with my fields in the dimension of the universe, I created you. And you create from it those who become me as part of the collection of the fields of me in the compression time of the life. Now, one day the scientists will understand this teaching. One day they collectively bring the properties, the understanding, the beauties, the attributes of the whole knowledge together, and that in that process and in that dimension, you as knowledge seekers will come to understand how you even decide the change in the color of your skin. If you understood and change the what we call the compression in the field of emotion which runs in this layer, you change your color. If you bring it in the two layers, not only you change the color, you change the emotion, you understand the language, you understand everything else, because the skin of the man is connected to the brain of the man. It's part of it. You get the warmth of the sun on the skin, you feel the emotion in the whole body. Because you touch the soul, you transfer this to the brain, which directly feeds the soul, which soul directly spreads it across the body of the physicality of them. If you become that ray on your own skin, you can change everything. And that ray can be ray of knowledge. The enlightenment can be ray of peace. It's you who decides on it, because the field, the strength of it is the same for everyone. If your knowledge seekers comprehend what is more or less in my scruffy drawings and the teachings on this board, you have understood the full knowledge of the teaching. Muhammad said, if you read Quran, there are 99 attributes written in it. If you understand all of it, you understand the 100. This is the 100. This is how you have to learn the transmutation, the transfer, the transmission that is there. You have to understand how to create the light of soul, not the light of the man. In time, in position, you have a say. In a way, you dictate your position of your soul in a space, because you have decided in the position of it, and you put your emotion, and that leads to the dimension of the creation and manifestation. When man understands the property, when the man understands the totality of the what we call the field and strength of the creator, and can play with it, man become another player in the universe, in the dimension of creation of every aspects of life, be it from emotion to physicality to extending and extracting and everything else one can do with a field. And then you understand, in the point of transmutation, that field can be a knowledge, can be enlightenment, can be food, and can be everything else. This is not teaching you how to feed yourself. This is to teach you to understand how you were created. And once you understand this, you can create anything at any point in time and space. You do not need egg and sperm to create a child. You do with the energy fields of the soul of the man. And then the interaction leads to creating a child of Mitra, which is the, in a way, understanding of the creation, the way the interaction of the lights of the creator on their own led to creation of the sun. Then that son, that soul will become the soul of the children of Mitra. The children which are understood to be created on the fields and not from the matter state of the field. If we understand, and if extend this knowledge, man can produce anything. Man can extract anything from the space of the universe. And if you understood this principle, then you understand how things work in the universe. Just having the fields on its own has no dimension. When you create the compression, when you create the wave, when you create every dimension, then leads to manifestation. One day, the world of science will understand. In the systems which you will receive as resource, this matter, this dimension, direction, especially in the latest one, is fully built in. No one can copy, no one can do anything with this because it's hidden within knowledge of the development and construction. As I said, when we put the first magnet about, if you remember, one of these clever knowledge seekers thought, oh, I buy one, I opened it, and he put it on there, look, this is turning. You open the resource, you never understand the concept of its work for centuries to come by man. And knows when you buy a resource, this is made by Keshe Foundation. You know this is what it works. Because even if it's a copy you put on, nothing happens. Because we understand this principle, what is sitting here on the screen. So, if you understood this, then you understand how we immediately have set up structures for testing and everything else in the next 3-month sessions to, in a way, create a dimension of the interaction of the fields in a matter state of the man, the way the 3I gave us unlocked. It transmitted, it not transmuted. And from that transmission, we are all affected and will be affected. Understanding the whole structure of the creation in its totality is one thing, but in its reality is another. Once we understand the work of the compression of the plasma field, we have come one step further to understand the process of the creation. But you can create it. Nothing will happen unless you, in a way, have come in touch with the original fields, the original light, the original cascades of what has led to be the creation, the manifestation, the observation, and everything else, even intelligence. If you look at, for example, the game, which you start playing and trying to find out, in the process of this game, it makes you to think. But that thinking targets that piece. It brings you enlightenment. How and which other way I can create peace? Not for the others, but first for me, inside me. I have to understand what love is to be able to give love. I have to understand the knowledge of the creation within me that I can lead to the creation of the children of Mitra. Otherwise, I'm like that cow, the dog, the man, and everything else around me. The difference between the man to reach that point is enlightenment. Peace within. And peace within it comes when man needs nothing from outside to make it think, forced to do things to get what is from outside. But when it's free, when it's available, when I don't have to fight for it, I become man of peace. When you're hungry, you go and hunt. If that energy is given to you, you don't hunt, you don't kill, you become man of peace. This works even for the man of the greed of power. In the future, when you play the game, in the background of it will transmit this knowledge, this field compression as part of the game through the cosmic ray connections, which is added to your game system, which you put on. In a way, the way we increased the fields within the seed of that grain of the wheat from 13% to 20% by adding the environment. The way we added, we changed the compression around the head of Naomi, which led to the creation of the cell of the brain, and you don't see the difference in the brain structure, is the same. We add that through the dimension of this 10,000 units, which is going to be around, to the secondary system, which is getting added to. You're connected to the matter state, to your internet. We connect to the dimension of the field of units, but we can play with it, and through there, through playing games, through interaction with our system, we build the man of peace. You want energy without using. I haven't eaten for 3 weeks. Oh, I haven't done anything. I don't need anything to do to destroy, but I make things to help, to support. Becomes part of your nature. Because in this system, we allow the connection to the internet, which is the physical side of it. And on the side, we work, we deliver, we interact with the dimension of the fields of it. In a way, your internet connection is in and the other side is out. And the two together make you peaceful. And then when it becomes part of the DNA, part of the structure, 24 hours spread into the system, then man, this planet, the cat, the dog, everyone will sleep happy. Because there's no hunger that I can kill something. I don't need to go hunting. I need to gather love only. The gathering of the man in the future is not anymore, I'm going to gather food to live. I'm going to gather the love, the energy, the emotion, which allows me, by giving, to receive more, to elevate, to enlighten myself in the knowledge of the creation. Try to understand the teaching of today in the essence of creation, not in the essence of matter state. And then you'll find out you have leaped forward, even in conjunction with a lot of other things you do in life. You see, you look at life in a different dimension and direction. I hope you understood. I hope you understand. I hope the future of mankind understands this specific teaching. That from it, man will make a new man of the universe, a new life in the universe, a new condition of the peaceful man in the universe, as man understands within us, still that soul, as was the sun, as we seen explained, is within me. So I have him in me as part of my soul, in every single cell of my body. How can I let him down? By my own lack of understanding of the created knowledge by him. We go for a break, we come back. And I hope you understood. And I hope mankind will understand this half an hour, 45 minutes of teaching. It will cause the change of humanity in every dimension of transportation, transmutation, life, not only on this planet, but in the universe. Rick, take us for a break. And we come back to answer any question.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Thank you. Okay. Another great teaching here that people will be taking apart and contemplating for some time. We will be taking a short break here, and I've got a couple of things lined up for our break. But first, I'll play the GAN's household reactor video, and then I've got a special short video to play and give an explanation of some of the work about the new transmission sessions that are coming up in the next couple of months. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the break. Next, I have a very short video that was made by Ed at New Year's, and it's kind of fun to play, I think. So I'll play that now. It's called Briefcase UFO. Okay, thank you, Ed, for that. That was a very nice, kind of cute video to have. I'd like to show the announcements from Mr. Kesh that came out recently, and it's in regards to the cosmic ray communication sessions, which we can see on the website here. On the Kesh Foundation store, I'll put the link into our chats here, into Zoom and into YouTube. And I'll read the announcement.
We don't see anything, Rick.
Oh, sorry, I didn't share properly here. Let me share my desktop. Thank you. So, yes, from the Kesh Foundation store, and that's our background image today that I picked up from the store regarding the cosmic ray transmission. I put the link in the chats. Now, I'll just, there's additional information that Mr. Kesh had put out as an announcement. So let me just enunciate that. Announcements. 1, Cosmic Ray Communication Sessions. Kesh Foundation, following the launch of Peace and Enlightenment Plasma Game last week, is set to enhance the experience of the joy of playing this game in combination with emotion of enlightenment experience that make the participants feel the emotion of peace and being able to open the feels dimensions that brings a new understanding of the world of creation through the enlightenment this game brings forward. We are set to expand our knowledge in transfer of emotions and enhancing the goal of the game with pleasure, knowing that collective fields of players in the near future can be utilized to bring about collective fields that can change not only them, but those who are citizens of this planet. We will use what we learn from this experience for the future development in helping the knowledge seekers to achieve faster emotional field strength to help them to create the fields needed to achieve rapid and fast emotional essence to be able to achieve transmutation. And it goes on, you can book your attendance in these sessions by using the following link. And it notes that places for these sessions will be limited due to sensitivity of tests. And I put the link into our chat here. Now, that was the first announcement. There was a second one as well. Oops, I didn't have the... Okay, I've got the link is not correct here right now, but let me get that sorted out in a minute. I'll just verbalize the, see if I can find it here. Just hang on a second. I'll have to get that from my other. Let me just say it here first, and then we'll look at the Valentine Day website. Valentine Day experience session. It says, we have tried to give a gift of love to all those who have been with us to experience the loving emotion on the most loving day of the year. Join us to try to experience this emotion of giving and loving unconditionally in this unique session, as it will be new grounds for us to celebrate the maturity of the technology in being able to create the emotion of love and peace. You can join us in the Valentine session as we learn more about this emotion and its expansion in our daily lives. And it gives the link. It's the right letters here, but I don't have, let me get the correct link here. Just bear with me a second. There we go. But this is the Valentine's link. I'll put that also into both of our chats. And this is the website from the link, and it's €500, and it's on February 14th. Couples can join for €750. Interesting image. I think I found a background image for Valentine's Day workshop. Okay, that's about it on that, Mr. Kesh. If you have anything else you'd like to say about that, or about the briefcase UFO, we'd be happy to hear, or anything else you'd like to engage in.
These sessions are a vital important part for our development, and in a way to bringing everybody in the same position, because once we test as usual, we do, and then we can add it to these 10,000 units on the cosmic ray side, that it allows the whole humanity to achieve this. In a way, what we receive from 3I, we transfer that every humanity receives it 24 hours a day, but in dimension of what is needed for peace and transportation. It's part of the learning curve for us, and part of the structure that we need to understand that we get it right every single time as we need it, that need to be done at the time and the place and the space. We are working on this system to be part of the daily life, because then you'll cover the whole of the humanity. We are trying to, Keshe Foundation itself is trying to go into actually paying for these ONN units to be spread across the world, that we can go a step forward faster. And this is part of our objectives, that we start literally investing in, and the incomes of it will go to the people who receive it, due to universities and the rest. And this is part of our work. And hopefully we can change the field of the emotion. What this planet did not give to us, we create ourselves to receive it through understanding of what was lacking, did not work for us up to. As we go further into this, we allow you to understand more as needed, because it has to be not only understood, it has to be implemented, that we can do it ourselves and anywhere in the universe. Yes, we can achieve it, we can reach it. And hopefully we'll see more and more of this because this will give us many things. Not depending on a food chain supply, not depending on to be given what is handed out, what they decide as food, as energy. Contaminated food, contaminated energies, and everything else. In allowing us to run what we call a system independent of financial restrictions up to date. Running a system which is not in its vocabulary, politics doesn't exist. This is something which a lot of knowledge seekers have not maybe understood what this change will bring. You're playing a game of peace, you're playing a game of enlightenment. But with it, in the background, in the other part of the system which is getting added to, by giving you independence, politics becomes irrelevant. Politicians can only exist when they can create a division of we are better than the others, where we are all better than we are together. And this is part of the structure. The what I call the world of elections will have no meaning. The world of policy, diplomacy has no meaning because we are all part of it. We're not expecting anything. We are not any different than anybody else. And so we are in it all together to be part of it. And we are part of the society of us together. And this is the beauty of it. The end of politics, the end of diplomacy, because I have, I give, I do, and what I do goes to extend to help the others. We'll explain in a very short while. You will see it when it comes to the 21st of March, that whatever you earn, 1,000, 200, 2 coins, a quarter of a coin, 10% of what you play, which we give you, will be taken off you and will be given to your government, cash foundation, and the structure of the system, which means if you earn 1,000, 100 will come off. 80% of it is allocated by designers to go to the government where you reside, where you carry where you live. So you cannot escape going somewhere else. And secondly, you haven't escaped because we're giving it to you freely. We put it in there that the government see the change. 1% will go as it's allocated for keeping the system going, and 1% goes to Keshe Foundation for further research and development. So in a way, by playing the game, you're financing your citizenship. And it's more than enough for a nation to live. If a million people play in the country and they earn 1,000, 2,000, we give that automatically to the Keshe Foundation, through the setup of the system, to your government. They see it as is needed. They see that is supporting it. They supported the expansion of it. 20, 30, 40, 50% taxes is not reality. This is why a lot of people avoid it and a lot of people suffer with it. 9, 10%, and what do you earn from us? It'll become a norm, and then the government accepts it by itself. Because the more they encourage the people to pay, the more income they have, the more structure will give for them to do and everything else. This, what we set up, will bring many, many changes. As I said, we still need a huge amount of finances to get to it. Somehow when it comes, we receive a huge donation, we spend it straight away when it has to go. Needs investment, needs a lot of things, but we still have to keep the daily life going. You can't have just people just to play. There's nothing else happening. And we reached the point that we are financing the purchase of payments for these units to reach the 10,000 as fast as we can. Once the system is completed, we do allow it ourselves because knowledge seekers have not been there to support it fully to get to that. From every source we have, we are even setting it up now to be done. And this will bring peace. This will bring a lot of changes. It's not just not needing money. If you understand behind it, when we're all receiving everything else we need, who needs the politicians? Who plays the politics? Who plays diplomacy? Because we are all in it. And the more we put in it, the more we gain from it. Who gets what? It becomes serving the governments of the nations. People give more of their time because it's there for it to be, and it's transparent. Any bribe is there, you can see it. A bribe has been taken or given, the contract goes with another. So all this will stop on its own automatically. It's very, very much transparent. And we shall see. I was looking at one of the world leading politicians when he was 40, when he was 20, he was nothing. He got into politics. Today is 82 and he's holding 10 trillion in assets. Not 1 trillion, not 1 billion. Pretending to serve a nation is lying him and his family with money beyond imagine. Saudi royal family has 1.3 trillion supposedly. You can imagine how much this man has robbed this nation. And he's still one because they can do. We don't need, with this system, everything is traceable. In a way, we change with the policy, with diplomacy and politics, because you are financed by your own structure through the cash coin, through the games, through everything else, to the system, to the business. It has to be that way. We cannot just be one thing. We have to bring the food on the table as much as the peace on the table, the love on the table, and the financial support that it can do. You'll see, we have started a process and we rely on knowledge seekers to support us to bring to that point, because then there is no intention of change. And there is no intention of somebody pushing it because it's to our baby. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. Let me see, I'll just remind our attendees here that they have a virtual hand that they can raise, and then we can open your microphone if you'd like to verbalize a question. Otherwise, you can place a question in the webinar chat or in the Q&A here in Zoom, and also in the chat in YouTube, which has a couple of questions already, but we've got 2 hands up. I usually like to allow our hands ups to go first. So Ed and Azar. Ed, would you like to go first, please?
Thank you, Rick. Can you hear me?
Yes, and thank you for the briefcase UFO video.
That was actually, I'm surprised that that was never intended to be really public. I didn't think it was.
Whoops.
No, it's okay. I mean, nothing I create like that is subject to, I don't hide it or anything, but I just didn't think it was that good. But
Well, it was kind of cute, I thought. So
yeah. That's
and it
what
kind
I
of
thought too.
illustrates it illustrates an interesting concept, which is creating the matter from the fields and creating an actual craft from vapor, essentially.
Yes. But anyway, good morning, Mr. Cash.
Good morning.
I had this question last week in the course of your teaching. Today it came up again. I seem to understand that emotion is important in the control of the energies, in the control of the wave structure of the universe and the plasma. For me, though, emotion is just something that happens to me. It's not something I really control. I have understood that the more I understand, it changes my emotion about in certain circumstances, in certain environments. When I have a bigger understanding of it, it changes it. But still, I struggle with the control of emotion, the creation of it. Can you explain that?
Yeah, every emotion has a strength. And we, by age of 1, 2, master most of it. Tantrums, kicking, shouting, crying, laughter. So we are well taught, we are well within the dimension of understanding our emotion. It's just that we have not taught about one emotion. As I said, many things in the teachings before, there are many emotions and conditions that we still are not familiar with as we come out of space will do. And that's the emotion of transmutation, which needs the balanced collection of all the emotions. Because if the liver decides I'm not coming, you cannot take the body and go with the liver left behind. Where the emotion of the anger cannot be left behind when you're going, because that brings you a lot of other conditions. So when you come to emotion, we know all of it. Putting it together, that allows the surety, gives us guarantee that when we go, we're all together. It's not that the creator doesn't know about the emotion of anger. He knows, but it tames it. It sees its danger. It's not that the creator is not jealous when he sees. He's jealous of the creator of the creation of meter, because he wanted to be loved. And when he loved, when he created that condition of being confirmed his existence, he couldn't be a rebel. It had to be something which he loves him. Is the mysticism in the knowledge of understanding the emotion. So, you know all the emotions. It is how you synchronize it, how you bring it to balance, that allows you to have the go. It's like an election. You have to have 100% vote to get to the presidency. 99 doesn't work. But everybody accepts you. It's that emotion. You have to create, to understand how to bring all the emotions together. That some emotions are in balance. Create balance in the dimension. And then you can transmute. And don't tell me how I control emotions. Ask your parents if there was a recording of you in a child age, born two, and see how you created that mayhem of kicking, shouting, or you create the emotion of laughter you couldn't stop. We know all the emotions. We know how to control it. But we haven't learned how to bring it all together, that it allows us to be detached because we are in charge of. Then we can transmit. So don't ask how I can teach myself. How can I look at all emotions? How did you make yourself angry just because you didn't like a soup or ball mom put in front of you when you were 1 year old? And how did you run with laughter when the father opened the door? So, you know the emotions. Controlling them to be in balance is the key to transmutation. Any other question?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to, thank you, Ed. We'll go to Azar now. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Cash. Mr. Cash, before I answer...
Before you go ahead, you asked me to change and go back to writing with a pen. We don't go backwards. We try to make it.
Okay.
So, the time we used to put camera and write on it in 2013, 2014 is long gone.
But you know, the boat has a mind of its own. It just keeps going the direction that you don't want it to go.
No, we control it. We try to get to where it goes. When you see the screen move, especially the new screen, it's me who moves it to create the space.
Okay. Mr. Cash, before I ask my question, can I suggest something to add about controlling emotion?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I say something?
Privately to him, that'll be better.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, my question is this: when you say at the time of death, what emotion you carry, it decides where you're going to end up in the universe when you go. So does it mean
the strength of
the emotion? Okay, so does it mean my action on this planet is not indicative of where I land?
Your action, this planet, collective actions, has already indicated of where you go. Because you created that balance.
So it's not only that the strength of the emotion at the time of death, it's a combination of my action and that emotion. Okay.
What you've collected in the sack will decide.
Okay. And then another teaching, past teaching, you said that the minute you're born, you're destined to die. You meant the physical death, not the...
Yeah, physical. Because once you're created as a thing, you exist forever.
Okay. And then, you know, when usually you talk, I can make an image of what you're saying in my head. But when you say compression of plasma, I just cannot have any picture of compression of plasma. What does it mean even?
Go to CERN and ask them to show you how they compress an atom.
Ask who?
People in CERN.
Oh.
They're very good at it, how they compress it. Compression means creating a dimension that you allow motion of the field in a certain way. You got a balloon, you put your finger on one side and you press it and the other side comes up. So you create a compression on it. The air is exactly as it was in there, it doesn't change. And the wave exists. It's the property of the dynamic plasma to create waves and to create compression. Even our seasons are created by the compression.
You mean the compression of the plasma of the planet?
Of the planet, yeah. Without the compression of the plasmatic field, there is no variation in life. There is no variety in life.
So in a place that there is always the same season and always flowers on the trees, it means the compression is always the same.
More or less, you sit on the same line. There is not much to change. It's like when you go to Hawaii, you have two seasons, summer and winter, a rainy day and a non-rainy day, dry season, they call it. And in Africa, you don't have the four seasons. They call it the rainy seasons or a dry season. Because you're near enough direct line with what comes in line from the planet or from the sun.
So how can we control this compression of plasma of ourselves, be able to do what we can do? Is that again connects to the emotion?
The technique, you have to do it within your soul. Within the brain, actually, is much easier. In the future, we'll come to part of the teaching where we analyze the part of the emotion and which emotion in the brain of the man creates condition of the emotion of even the physicality. You just don't get up and go somewhere. You create a need to do something, so that creates a certain pressure or compression on your brain that triggers need water, trigger needs love, trigger I want to go out. Understand? You don't get out of the house, drive halfway around the city to go to a place called the supermarket to pick up a specific package, because the emotion has already done. The physicality does the rest of doing what the emotion has created in the body. Hunger, love. How do you get up in the morning, walk all the way, go to the flower shop, buy a single rose, come back home to give to your partner to say, I love you? That flower and the word of love or impression of showing it is all pre-planned by the impression I want to tell my partner I love. So I do all the going out, shopping up, bringing up, testing the flower, everything else, and then being in that position. We don't look at things like this. We just got used to, oh, there's a love. I love you. About your rose, it's a Valentine or your birthday, whatever. How many of you call your partners and tell them at least 2, 3, 4 times a day, I love you. I love the way you do. If they're not spoiled, if they're realistic, they take it and they add to the love to come back to you. I promise you, the last time you told your partner I love you could be a century ago. We don't do, because that creates a condition. But some people abuse that love because they, oh, he needs me, that's why he says love me, or he says he loves me. If we learn how to control the emotion, but at the same time create a condition for it to be understood and appreciated, but not abused, will become a different world. Some people who have never been loved, if you tell them I love you, oh, she needs me or he needs me, this is, I can do this, that, because I'll take a hike. I can love a dog too. We don't become a slave to love. We become, what them to understand is, I give you what you need because it's part of the need. We satisfy, confirms your existence, but you cannot abuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Cash.
I received a lot of notes in the background in the past few days to make a comment about the situation in Iran. In respect to what is happening in Iran, as part of our work and policy, situation is bad, extremely bad. And again goes back to religion and what other religions want to do to each other. I prefer to stay out of this at this moment because it can damage the whole structure of the Kashmir nation in respect to what we announce and what will take place. We suffer with the Iranians, we suffer with the whole of humanity in conditions like this, but my soul goes to those who have lost life. And I hope those who are sitting to be benefited by this understand that things like this needs a lot of understanding to stay out of. And we will see, if you go back to the talk of the 1st of the January, in what I forecast, I explained to you there'll be a lot of regime changes. This come out of what is about to happen. We see in the first one, they tried to do in Venezuela. We see here and we see in other countries, but you have to be aware, when you put a cat in a corner, the cat bites back. And this is the situation we have in Europe. It's the matter of survival. Once fighting to get the freedom. And one knows if they get the freedom, it'll be the end of totality. And we stay out of this situation. We know it's horrendous what's happened. As I said to a knowledge seeker, I've been through 2 revolutions. And we have to understand how, at this moment of time, we are losing lives in huge numbers. But we have to understand these lives, majority of them. Again, even though it looks like Iran, it's not Iranians. The shots fired to the securities are mainly trained Israelis. The same as 20 Italians started a revolution in Libya. And the ones who are hitting and killing, again, majority are not Iranians. If you've seen, as we receive reports, how many were recruited in Arab nations in the past 4 or 5 weeks to go to Europe. So we stay out of this, and I wish the nation will come out of it in one piece, but the plan is to divide the nation into 5 or 6 parts, done by the British and American years ago, decided, and now this is a receivable part of the final episode. You have to understand, you put England, France, Germany, and bits of the part of the European nations together, they still don't fill the land mass of Iran. Iran is huge, and it's part of what it is. But the biggest worry for me is what we received confidential reports from securities that the Americans have moved Taiwanese soldiers into the Sudan area to get the Chinese to get involved, and then we can see. This is the most dangerous part of what we see. Taiwanese soldiers being brought into this area because the Chinese are there. It gives them a chance, a trigger to start a war in what we call Taiwan. This is the most dangerous part of expansionism, and this is what is the frightening part of this episode. Any other question?
Okay, thank you for that. You've answered one of the questions in the YouTube about that. Next question is a regular, almost weekly question. Is there any news regarding the delivery of the electric gas generator?
We are setting up the structure for a delivery, hopefully this year. We have things happening. As I said, we don't put things out, but those who are in the cash foundation, they know what's happening in the background. We're setting it up because we had a setback with a huge loss. We had to collect, we lost millions, as you're aware, and we had to restructure to create the production of it. And it's not just a production; it's licensing, getting certification for it. It's much more than actually produce. We have the technology. And it's just that once we go into production, it's mass production, you cannot deliver 1 or 2. We produce hundreds of thousands to be launched in one go. Because you have to understand 1 or 2 gets lost, but it's not that way. These things, there is a plan, there's a structure which is going through at the moment. And we don't talk about it because, well, as I said in the past, we said what we do, what we saw, what happens over years. The spies of Belgium sitting in amongst us and created mayhem. Everything we did suddenly go nowhere. And now we see. You see that, as I explained, now we can speak about it in the open in a very different way. We saw Mr. Zarif, the guy who was the Iran had negotiations for nuclear, and now thinking he is a chance to do, and has become a new freedom for Iran against Ayatollahs. But Mr. Zarif took a recording of 2 hours and 55 minutes of lies about me given by my ex to the Iranian cabinet, trying to tell them that blah, 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 and the rest. So we had everything we set up was destroyed. But now, this time, we don't talk. We finish. We soon receive most of more or less everything which is done. As Obisos, the new sets, now many of you who bought it been informed that it's on the move. There's one stuck in the customs somewhere. They're still trying to sort it out. Because even they don't understand what this technology does. So just give us a few more months and be done. But we don't talk about how, where, and the way it's done because we are more or less fulfilling our commitments because now we're producing, we're set to produce in mass quantities.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. We have a couple of questions on skin from Stefania from the Italian sector. How do we dictate the structure of the pentagon in the skin, for example, with emotion? And what makes the pentagon?
Your brain does. You don't do a structure, the brain does. You got to understand the 3 layers of the body of the man. The position of the cells in the middle layer has, and the strength of it has, and dictates the color of your skin, the shape of the skin, the softness of the skin, the hair where it grows, and everything else. So you have no say. It's embedded in the fields of the middle layer. The outer layer is to keep what's outside, not to go in. The inner layer is there to keep what's inside as it is. So the only change, the only variation in the emotional change of the color, the skin, the shape of the, what do you call it, the structure of the skin, all dictated by your middle skin. Even part of your emotion, because if you change that, you can change everything in your skin. So we can't dictate it as preset through information gathered, what we call genetic structure or the distance of the gap. Because if you understood the principle of the colors, we see what the object cannot absorb. Everything is absorbed. So if you take, can you give me whiteboard?
You want a whiteboard? Okay.
There are a couple of things in the nanotechnology. What do you see? You have the structure of the layers, which sits very much like this. The gap distance here dictates the color of your skin. If the middle layer is closer to the inner layer, gap is bigger. So it absorbs. Someone says I cannot see. Okay, I'll come further down that you can see. These are the cells of your body. I hope you can see now. And these are the layers, very much like in your body. They say they can't see. Rick?
I can see it fine. Not sure what the problem is there.
He says, now we see.
Okay.
Okay. So the distance gap here between the C's of middle layer and the bottom layer dictates the color of your skin. The bigger gap between the outer layer and the inner layer allows more colors to be absorbed, or less colors to be absorbed, is a gap distance. This is why all the blacks always stay black, because this gap is so close to the inner skin. Everything is absorbed. The softness of the skin is opposite. The closer you go to out, with a tilt, there is a direction of tilt into this, then it makes your skin softer. That's why the Chinese skin is soft, and the white skin is different soft, and the Middle Eastern skin is a roughish, because we absorb different, and the middle layer decides. And then there is a dimension of, again, positioning field strength, which brings with emotion. Like the shy line of the body, there's certain points we cannot touch. We don't allow, because that direction connects it to the emotion. If it's past, I have to show emotion. So I make that barrier. You touch me there, I slap you in the face. Or you touch me there, I cuddle you, and I want more of it. We decide how the emotion tilts this thing, this middle layer. So the world of medicine, the world of science has not understood this, because they never do. It's just the layer, blah, blah. The position of the cells, the position, the distance between dictates everything. And then when you have an emotion which is totally wrong, you don't like it or whatever, which is the emotion of abuse or whatever, you see that, you lock it in its position. What you get all sorts of cataracts and everything else, and eczema and the rest. Because you lock the emotion, because you want to show I'm suffering. I mean, that you look at anyone's skin on the elbow, you see eczema. On the knuckles, you see eczema. You see eczema in certain part of the body. All dictates certain emotion. Why do we show it on the elbow? Why do we show it on the skin? Why do we have this on the heel of the foot? If you get all these machines sold, how to clean your heel, the bottom of your foot. Why do we get it when we pass puberty, not before puberty? Very, very seldom we see children with all these problems with the heel or with the skin of the foot, because his emotion is sexually connected. And how we calculate it, our emotion. So these nanolayer decide what shape your skin is going to be, what texture it's going to have, and how it's going to bring that into position. And because of his death, and decides if you're going to have a hair, your hair stands up, or you have no emotion and everything. Part of it we carry from our ancestral side, especially the color of the skin, and partially comes through emotional interaction. Even you say the face looks like a father, or the lips like a mother, it all comes from emotion within that. I have to go somewhere. Carry on. Just let me see what is something's going on. One of the chat, which should not be there. Sorry about this. The Keshe Foundation channels are not for political outlets, please. And do not use us to bring things into the Keshe Foundation. Sorry about this. Okay, back. I had to put something in the Keshe Foundation Farsi. Any other question?
Okay, well, we did have a skin question from Alexandra of the Brazilian community, and I think you've answered it, but the question was, what are your thoughts on vitiligo? Is that the way you say that? And skin color change. I believe we've looked at that before. It's when like a black skin can have white blotches and that kind of thing.
It's again to do with the gap distance which has been put in there, or because of the structure or created that gap distance.
Now, but would that be because of emotional changes, or is it just a structural thing?
It's a structural which is set by emotion. Most of you see people with the splotches are white or brown on their skin. It doesn't necessarily come from this person. It comes from the generation in the past, because we carry that. And what is being said to be there, because it's very, very interesting. We change the skin every 20, 30 days, whatever. How come only that patch keeps on changing color to that? Because it's preset at the bottom. You understand? So this is the problem with this, that is preset through the emotion of the past or the condition of the past, or because of what we want to do. All these chemicals they use to change the color of the skin is primarily to touch this distance gap. And they haven't understood that, because if you can't do that even with emotion, you can change the color, because you have to go to the emotion.
And would that apply also to the color of hair? We had a knowledge seeker that gave a testimonial about her hair suddenly changing from gray to brown, and people noticed it, and for her it was apparently a almost instantaneous change. It was not the hair growing out that changed color, but all of her hair at once, kind of.
These are all again environmental and emotion.
She relates it to a workshop a few weeks ago that
I've read that, but you have to look more into it, what's been in the back.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't heard anybody of the board listeners saying that it's all got Afro hippie hair. They didn't grow hair during this session, so it changed colors. You have to understand what's been in the background of the environment. That's just the case.
Okay, we have a question from Peng Peter in the YouTube. If the soul of men carries characteristics of Earth, do transportation systems created by men also have distinct characteristics in terms of magnetic fields?
Yes. If they carry the fingerprint, yeah. Yes, they do. What's next?
Okay, from Antonio in our Q&A here. So from what I understand, frequencies interact with creator rays?
Frequencies are not interaction. Frequencies are part of the structure. If you always, when it comes to understanding of the plasma, look at the behavior of the water in the oceans, not in a cup, because it gives you a very, very good example of, I mean, it's as much freedom of as you can explain the whole condition. If you get hitting a wave against the wall once, it splashes and goes. But if you keep on hitting the wave one after another to the same place, it moves the wall, it changes, gradually builds into it. And it's the same. When you have a plasma, you create certain waves, and how these waves, to what distance gets allowed to be carrying the field for the strength out, dictates that position, that condition. And this is the way it's the easiest way to explain the work of a plasma. Look at the wave of the ocean, because the same thing happens in plasma technology, in the creation, the world of creation. Does it be it your emotion, be it structure of the physical dimension and the rest. Then how frequent that wave hits the wall. If it's one every hour, it's just an average. But if the wall gets hit one after another, it has to react. Then it becomes a frequency that the timing gap of that frequency and the strength of the wave, then it decides. So it's not just frequency, you know. Any other question?
Okay, we have some questions from, let's check for, no hands up. We have 3 questions from Paulo in our Q&A here, who says, great Professor Kesh. On one occasion, you informed us that the raw material of the human soul is one thing, and that the teacher sent by the Creator is another. Question. 1. In the ancient Chinese astronomy, Shibi was the name of a constellation located north of Ursa Major and was considered the dwelling place of the Lord of Heaven. Is this true? Do you feel a greater force field from the Creator when you approach that area?
I don't know what it is. How can I?
We would have to look it up and kind of point toward stars and whatnot. Well, maybe I could ask a more direct question. Do you feel different fields from different stars that you look up at in the at night?
You get different emotions. Those have been around me years ago. It just became too boring. You look, you create all sorts of things with your hands, and how you bring the energies together. You can realign a lot of lights. I explained to before this how you can even create the vision of a UFO, vision of the meteorite. Is how you more or less now you summon the fields to create the emotion of the observation. Why only one person can see UFO, or collective few people see the UFO? Or the same process with everything else when you want to manifest. Anybody can create light between their hands, but who can throw the lights, who can expand the lights, that the lights become them? This part of teaching we never teach. I never teach this because the human race is too immature to get to this point. If you remember, go back years, I think it was in Trani, Well, we explained how if you fold your two hands and it creates light between it. It's like a soul. But what about if you expand its light, that you become part of it, you become inside of it? Then you can do the transmutation. That needs a lot of understanding.
Okay, there's further questions with Paulo. Second question is, do black holes counterbalance the force of the expansion of the universe, or are they the source of this force?
No, they work collectively. If the black hole is produces black too, is light to the other, as we explained before. It's from the point of observation. A black hole is as much as a star. It has gravitational, it's got magnetic. Depends where you stand in respect to it.
Okay, a third question, is it possible with plasma technology to prevent the Earth's surface from heating up and the consequent evaporation of water and its escape from the atmosphere, as happened on Venus with the loss of its oceans?
That loss of oceans got to do with what's getting cool toward the sun. Nobody can stop. Literally, no one can stop. If you could last another 1 million, 2 million, 10 million years, as we go closer and the water disappears, yes. You'll see it'll be done. Nothing to do with anything else.
What about, say, on Mars, where they have water below the surface, and on the poles? Could a plasmatic atmosphere be created to enable that to be trapped, the vapors trapped, rather than allowing them to evaporate away, to create an atmosphere in effect?
What purpose does this serve?
Well, for example, Elon Musk is planning on retiring on Mars, and one of his
Already retired in the brain.
one of his ideas is to use nuclear devices to create an atmosphere on Mars. You can use non-radioactive nuclear device that could create dust and atmosphere and allow an atmosphere to be created that was, might be able to support certain gases and whatnot that might be better for life.
Create a dome and live in it. But what do you need to do all these things?
Mm-hmm. You mean a plasmatic dome, or
it's very natural, very normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there is a fourth question hiding here as well. Would there be one original ancestor for celestial beings, another for humans, and yet another for the Creator?
It's all the same. All goes to one. It's all one. If you understood the teaching this morning, you understand everything comes from one source. It depends how it interacts with itself. It's a situation of mass and weight and the rest of it. It's all the same. It depends what they're interacting with.
Okay, we have one hand up here with Brett Headley. Maybe we could hear from him before we close.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Gish. How are you?
Thanks very much.
Lately, the major focus of my life has been to bring one little one back into place, if I could call it that. He went through about 9 months of separation with his mother, and he came back with cross eyes. We got him back, but he has cross eyes. Now, we believe it's emotional. We've been working all together as a team to live with him, to try to bring him back. And now at about 20 or 30% of the time, he looks at you straight. You ask him to look at you straight. Is there anything that KF has that can help someone with their eyes, or should I just persist on
No,
the...
we don't have, but we have to understand what was the reason behind it.
Yeah, I know.
Is this the same child we're talking for a few years about?
Yeah.
Okay. Write to me private. There is something which I have to speak to you because it's something did not explain to you. Some might help you with. Yeah.
Sure.
Contact Dr. Kern, and through Dr. Kern, because something is happening for you, but it just we have to tell you. I thought something is the expansion of the yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel it. There are also some behavioural issues.
How old is he now?
2.5. I felt it. MTK, I felt it. There was something that was generated within him, and then he just turns into,
get in touch, contact Dr. Kern, and we'll talk about it in a different way.
Right.
Okay. Set up a session with Dr. Kern. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
We had one other question that I can see here. It's kind of technical, but perhaps you can take it on. From Anonymous, who says, "Good morning, Mr. Keshe. So the Michelson-Morley test validates the plasma physics that you're talking about." He says a minute ago, but that was about an hour ago, and you were discussing some of the physics there. I don't know if you're familiar with the Michelson-Morley experiment.
Nope.
It was, maybe we can have a very brief look at that, I suppose, to try to address the question. Let me see, I've got it here. Michelson-Morley experiment basically is an attempt to measure the motion of the Earth relative to the luminous ether, a supposed medium penetrating space that was thought to be the carrier of light waves. And it was performed between April and July of 1887 by Michelson and Morley. And it's important because it kind of set things up for, they found no significant difference between the speed of light in the direction of movement through the presumed ether and the speed of light at right angles. So it supposedly led to the idea of special relativity, of which Albert Einstein he says, if the Michelson-Morley experiment had not brought us into serious embarrassment, no one would have regarded the relativity theory as a halfway redemption. So in other words, it led to the ideas of Albert Einstein, his theories and whatnot. So I don't know if we want to get into that in any more detail. Probably not, but
don't know. I prefer to stay out of it.
Yep. Okay, well, I think that pretty much wraps things up. We did have a question maybe you can quickly address that I had mentioned to you before the workshop about within the gaming environment of this new enlightenment game. Will there be opportunities for people to interact in various ways in the future? Can you give any hints on how that might work? For example, we had a question from a member of the Universal Council who is wondering how they could operate within the gaming environment and find a way to, help people or help the conditions that are occurring on the planet.
The game is at its infancy and still getting added to and what they call it changed or whatever, and it got to change and added to and different factors brought into play. That all depends on the developers, how they do it. Because people get bored, they find a way to, and that's what I was explaining before the teaching. A couple of thousand a year, and this the changes will come, but in the same purpose at the end of it. Just give us time. Let us do our teething section, which is going on now till March, and after March we go to the next step of phasing. That's a lot of things needs to be done. At the moment, it's hectic in the background, and not only with the design, the people who develop this, for us to fit this into the society is extremely hard. It's not going to be easy. And our target is at least 1 billion people to play this in the next few years on a regular basis for an income. And as I said, brings a lot of new things on. It's just getting there, doing it. I know the shortcuts. I know how can we teach each other what to do. Teaching each other what to do doesn't bring you enlightenment. Actually, this game almost said is don't try to find a shortcut. Try to give the body, the brain, your emotion to comprehend it. It's not a game to finish and to do. And it'll be changed. Games will change a lot. Gradually, as we develop. Thank you very much. And see you next week. And I hope we'll see bigger changes around us in a positive way. Thank you very much, Rick, and everybody else. See you next time.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Mr. Kesh, for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here, number 625 in the ongoing series of weekly workshops. Continuous, haven't missed a single week in all those sessions. In fact, we've added a few in between sometimes. And this is for Thursday, once again, this time January 15th, 2026. We'll be back again next week, most likely at the same 9 a.m. Central European time. If it's any different, we'll let you know. And our next public teaching workshop is coming up on Tuesday, the 20th of January. And that will be the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace with members and support members of the Universal Council, who put on a program there based on the soul-based activities and the work they do in the background for giving from the soul toward world peace. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here for today's workshop. And And big thanks to Mr. Kesh for continuing this series of knowledge of the universe and expanding on that on a weekly basis. All right, we'll go out in our usual manner with the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, and may you all have a great day wherever you are. Bye for now.
No i dobrze, ja też dziękuję tutaj wszystkim, a szczególnie osobom zorientowanym też gdzieś wokół tłumaczeń, gdzie mamy możliwość posłuchania tego i przeczytania w języku polskim. Pozdrawiam wszystkich i do zobaczenia na przestrzeni.